Okay, I've been talking about Kindle Vella with a number of resources, including people like Virginia Milner, who's the head of Kindle Vella, and then Audrey Carlin, the author of The Marriage Auction, and then the common denominator between those two things, so those two people, I should say, is Callie Chase. Everybody kept coming back to Callie Chase, and fortunately for me, Callie actually ended up reaching out to me and saying, "Hey, I'd love to be part of this." So just to kind of fill you in on who Callie Chase is. Callie Chase is an author, editor, and writing instructor with more than a decade of experience in indie publishing. After getting her start as a ghostwriter, Callie released her dystopian zombie series Bug on Amazon's Kindle Vella platform in July of 2021. Called a breakout debut by the Amazon Book Review when the series launched, Bug was featured as my new zombie story obsession by Culturist.com and has consistently been ranked a top favorite series on the Kindle Vella platform. Without any further ado, welcoming to the channel, Callie Chase. How you feeling?
I'm feeling great. Thanks, Dale. Thanks for having me.
I am super geeked up to have you here because when I had the conversation with Virginia and I had the conversation with Audrey, they're like, you have to check out this horror writer. And I'm like, you had me at horror. I'm all in. So I am really, really pumped. By the way, if you happen to be watching this live, we are going to be having a question and answer session directly following all of my interview here. And if you're watching this on the replay, please feel free to drop in some type of a comment. And if you're a fan of Bug, make sure you put in hashtag Bug and drop a scary emoji into the comments. To be much appreciated. So, Callie, if you wouldn't mind enduring some of my questions here, I would definitely love to fire them off to you.
Of course, I would love it. Thank you.
All right, so let's start it out at the very beginning. How would you describe Kindle Vella to a new reader?
Yeah, that I feel like I've been talking about the platform itself a lot and how it works.
Mhm.
And so the analogy I use is it's a product, it's a new platform by Amazon, a new way to access story content. And it's sort of the difference between like a book, which would be comparable to say a movie like long form, intact, could have prequels, sequels, and all that. But Vela tells stories in a way that's more comparable to like a TV series. So you have like episodes, longer view of what the whole story arc might be. And every single bit is episodic. So it's shorter, not quite the same structure and plan you might have for a book, but for a reader, you can kind of dip in, read a short episode, just like you'd watch an episode of a TV show, and come back as often as you want to watch the next one.
So, for authors, how does Kindle Vella look to them?
Well, Vela is actually a really, really easy platform to use. That's one of the things that I love about it the most because new to self-publishing myself as my own, brand. I don't have a formatter, I don't know the ins and outs of like the ISBN numbers, all that. Like that is a whole new world for me. So coming onto Vela and knowing I could just drag and drop a Word document, or literally they have a text editor. You can write your episode right within the Vela, dashboard. It's super easy. So it's pretty easy, pretty quick. There are options for how to use it depending on your writing style and your release schedule, but it's an easy platform if you're writing serialized fiction.
Very cool. So, this would be a great platform for any newbie self publisher to start on. Am I wrong in saying that?
Oh, no, I would agree. It's in terms of, like, infrastructure and how to use it, it is very easy. Simpler
Nice.
than a lot of what you might see if you tried to go other routes.
What were your initial thoughts about Kindle Vella? Did you have some reservations, or did you see that you would have this much success as you had?
Oh, n well, first of all, thank you. I mean, the success part of it is, like, shockingly exciting when I hear people are reading it and talking about it. I'm like, "What?" Inappropriate noises of excitement. It's crazy. But no, I mean, the thing that really got me super excited is I think like a lot of authors, I had a novel that I had written years ago on the back burner that, I had queried, and it just I was surprised because you know how they say frequently literary agents won't give you feedback. Was shocked how much feedback I got, and the feedback was, "No, but" so it was still universally, like, rejected, but the feedback was like, "The world building's really intense, I had nightmares after I read it," but the my I know, right? Which I was like, "Yes,
You
thank
did
you."
your job.
I've haunted someone, that's great. But the piece of feedback that was most helpful to me was one of the literary agents said, "It doesn't feel like book 1, it feels like the first part of book 1," which with my other background in work in publishing, I was like, yeah, I know, I have not been able to figure out how to fix it. So I put it on the back burner. And when Vella was announced, it was actually, I was working with a marketing manager on other parts of my world and work. And he was like, did you hear about this? Like, bug that's just been sitting there collecting dust could be an amazing fit for a serialized, platform. And so I had truly like the most humble of intentions and hopes for it, because I knew what I had written in the past didn't work as it was, but I just loved the concept and the premise and what I thought I could do with it. So, you know, my test kitchen here is Vella, and I've been really delighted in how that creation's come together.
Yeah, it's really come together and really fast because, I mean, if you fired off your first episode, July 2021, well, first of all, how many episodes did you come out the gate with? Because I know that there were some people that came with 5 episodes, 10 episodes. What did you have when it initially fired off?
I had 4,
Okay.
and I really had hoped that I would have more, because I had this like 68,000 word novel as my starting point.
Okay.
But as I was literally sitting down in the platform trying to put those episodes in, you'd be guess how much of my 68,000 words actually made it into the episodes I have live right now.
Guess, man, I would have thought, but I mean, then again, you've got to abbreviate it down to each one of the episodes. I'm going to guess 50,000 of the 68.
I wish too. It's 15. I've only got about 6 episodes from,
What?
I know, of the 56 that I have written and scheduled today, only about 15,000 words made it into the series. It just was so different when I tried to create, because when I wrote the novel, I was thinking about POV characters and what would these, I can have more POV characters in a series. So I was really able to blow the series up the way I wanted it, and just couldn't see it envisioned as a novel when Bella launched. And I think for me creatively, that's why it's been what I needed. It was the answer to what wasn't working in the novel form.
Yeah.
And so it's been really, really fun. But I still, when I launched, I thought initially first, like, oh, great, maybe I'll get 50 episodes out of the book and done and done. And that's my season. Psh, no, didn't happen
Not
that
a
way at all.
chance.
Nope. But thankfully, I love the idea. It's not like I was, already sick of it just because I had that first book kind of roughed out. So I'm just literally, I think I'm at just over 150,000 words published already now. So
Oh
I
my
know,
gosh. And that
good
leads me to
times.
another great point. You wrote 68,000 for the novel version. You only were
Right.
able to extrapolate about 15,000. I shouldn't say only. That's still a significant amount, but that's a lot of work that you had to cast off to the side. But now,
Yeah.
to date, the last I checked a couple days ago, it's probably increased since. You had 50 parts put together. How were you able to write and publish 50 parts since launching Bug? Because, I mean, wow. And I think you're releasing, what, 2 to 3 episodes per week? Or is that slowed down?
No, it's 3 a week. I think I've had 2 weeks since launch where I really just flubbed the scheduling and, like, missed the window to schedule it for whatever reason, and 2 might have come out in a couple of weeks. But the goal has been every Monday, Wednesday, Friday since launch. So how I mean, I'm just writing almost every day, and I hate to say it this way, but the work I was doing before, I was producing so much word count as a ghostwriter every month, like literally 60,000 words a month was not an uncommon, volume for me, that now I'm trying to write about 10,000 words a week for Bug. And that doesn't contemplate getting ahead on the content, but just like I know I can actually hit schedule and publish about 10,000 words a week. So it's, I need tools, like I use timers to time my word count, because otherwise, I mean, there have been episodes where I've literally spent 8 hours on one episode, and then episodes I've been able to put together in two. And each of the episodes are a little bit different. So not to like bore you to tears with the process, but yeah, it's an ongoing thing. It's been so fun. And since I am kind of writing it real time, I feel like it's all my best energy now is coming to it, because I'm not looking at an old book and trying to make that work. I'm like, nope, whole new world. And here I go.
Nice. So it's probably gave you a fresh perspective on things then.
For sure. Yeah. And characters now that I'm writing as I go that never would I have envisioned for the book because I was so narrowly focused on like I can have maybe two POV characters if I'm going to go that route. So now I've got like way more people, which is good. People to kill, people to
And I imagine this will help you build out this world well past 50 parts. I mean, this could probably be 200, 300, or even maybe even 1,000 parts.
I mean, 1,000 might be great. People might be really sick of it by 200. I hope not. But yeah, I mean, the expandability from just where I started is one of the things that's the most exciting. Because yeah, for sure, I initially thought maybe I'll get 50 episodes. It's day 3 of the disaster, and I have 56 episodes scheduled. So I think I'll probably be able to hit like 100 or 200, still be in the first week of the zombie apocalypse. So
That is absolutely insane. Okay, so you touched on something really briefly. I want to kind of veer off towards that direction. Some of your writing habits.
yeah.
I'd love to know what the process is of you sitting down and actually drafting out a single episode, and what happens to that episode after you're done with that first draft.
Sure, sure. So for me, one of the things I love, especially about serial writing as opposed to novel writing, which writing I adore, it's wonderful to do, but the structure of a series episode for me, I always start with sort of the trajectory I want the episode to take. So there's always got to be a starting point that builds tension, and then throughout that episode I'm trying to sustain the tension,
Mhm.
and then at the end of the episode I want there to be some kind of hook that isn't necessarily a cliffhanger or something, but like say for example if it's action, great, you've got that rising action, you're sustaining it, and then there's some conclusion to the head gets smashed or whatever's happening. But then in the episodes that are a little more atmospheric or character driven, I really want those episodes to have a very strong hook and a reason why the pace has changed. So it's not like drilling into the reader episode after episode, like violence, action, running around. There are also episodes where you kind of go deep into something that matters, but that is told in a slightly different way. So just approaching that, I'm always focused on the word count, that significant rising, sustaining, falling tension. And then hopefully I'm also incorporating like the theme. So I always remind myself, okay, why are these characters important? Why are they in this world at all? And what do they want? And so their pursuing what they want will be influenced by the kind of character they are. And so, yeah, I mean, literally stacks of post it notes. I email myself ideas from bed if I think of something because, I don't have everything perfectly fleshed out since I'm expanding it so rapidly as I go. So just anchoring myself in like, okay, who is this character? What do they really want? What would they really do in this situation? It's also just part of the fun of this genre, this sort of dystopian paranormal. You've got all kinds of different creatures and characters, and their motivations are hopefully not predictable. So does that kind of answer the process, or did I completely gloss over the real
No,
question you asked?
that is really good. I would love to know when you're sitting down to write. Let's say you finished up your first draft. What's the next step after that for you?
Oh, that's right. The next step. So I always try to let an episode rest because honestly, we cannot edit ourselves. You don't see the content. You look back and you think, what was in my head? Did it actually make it? So I let it rest. I have a really, really strong, dedicated beta reader who reads every single episode, gives me feedback and some edits on copy editing and proofreading because I miss stuff. I go back and I have to fix typos all the time, even with the help that I have. And then I look at it again. I pretty much easily visit every episode at least 3 times, but some of them, especially depending on my schedule, how far in advance I'm actually scheduling it, it might even be 5. Because then once I see it in the Vella uploader, the formatting is different than just a Word document. So then I just notice more things. And I'm like, oh, on the page, that's a
Oh.
super long paragraph. So maybe I need to, because you want the reading experience when someone's scrolling on their phone to not be like this wall of, text. So I take that stuff into consideration, but not until right before I hit schedule or publish.
It's so crazy. I point this out to a lot of authors quite often, where the wall of text type thing.
Yeah.
It's great that you're writing at such a volume, but sometimes that much, it's almost like we need you to eat this whole burger in one bite. Go. and people were going to be overwhelmed. And I noticed when going into your first episode, everything was digestible. It was super easy to take in. And before I knew it, I was done with that first episode going, what did I just read? I don't, whoa. So it took me aback. Now, speaking of, it obviously took a lot of people back. They probably like, oh my gosh, what has been the key to your success on Kindle Vella? Because there's going to probably be some people out there like, oh, well, Callie's got deep pockets. She probably pours it into marketing. Oh, Callie had a large following. So could you share a little bit about the keys to your success?
Sure, sure. That is so cute. I do not have deep pockets. I do not have an unlimited budget, and I started with 0 readers, like zilch as a base. So in terms of sort of, I still appreciate you saying the word success, because I really do feel like it's a success that anyone is reading it and that people who are reading it are liking it. So I'm so, so grateful for that. But I would honestly say that for me, the plan that I had in place, I really tried to approach it because I knew it was kind of my debut project and that it could go abysmally wrong and fail, or it could be like, oh, this might be working out. I did not have shoot for the stars kind of goals for it. I was very modest, especially because there are zombies. And so many people say can't sell zombies, which I disagree with. I think people adore their zombies, like myself. But the secrets to my success, I would say honestly, is I had a plan. So way right from the beginning, when I knew Vella was going to launch, one of the first things I did, even before I started editing and rewriting the episodes, was coming up with a cover that I thought would convey the right vibe to the right reader. And so like I knew I didn't want blood, gore, anything too off-putting and too horrifying. Like I wanted to be able to look at it and evoke the feeling without turning anybody away, be
Mm.
kind of authentic about what it is.
You left
But
the imagination of the readers to kind of fill in those gaps then.
I hope so, yeah, and I really love the bug cover, so I that was first, I think, and foremost. Then I did come up with a plan for, at what point can I afford to pay for graphics, to pay for videos that I could put on social media, to pay for ads or marketing, and whatever my budget was, I was like, "Okay, at what point am I gonna, like, start to cry and cut it off and be like, 'I can't lose any more?' Or at what point am I like, 'This okay, this is sustainable and I see the results,'" and having a plan for me, I think made me feel comfortable that I was going into it with risk, but very, very open to what would happen and reevaluating literally. Initially, when it first came out, it was daily where I was like, oh my gosh, I hoped I would get like 150 reads in the first month or two. And I think we got that on like the first day. And then obviously the platform, but the platform was like blown up. Everybody was, reading everything and it was great. I didn't expect that to sustain, but just having a plan for myself and knowing like I have goals that I can't control. Like I can't force someone to click the little thumbs up on an episode, but I can work backward from a goal and say, well, what can I control? I can control the writing. I can control if I'm doing anything on social media or things like that. And just feeling like all those little pieces I was looking at every day, every month, reevaluating. And then of course, like honestly, the writing for me is the most important part of it. Like all this stuff is, it could be a full-time job, which is why I have help. I can't do it all by myself. But then the writing, I try every time I write an episode to be like, what is the thing that I would be most excited to read? What would surprise me? And then go for it. And sometimes it's been terrible. My beta reader at times has been like, what? And so I then thankfully I have like second tiers where I can be like, do you agree? Is this horrible? And I just try not to be precious about it. If the feedback is like, oh, this didn't work or I don't get it, full stop, redo, and just because the most important thing is that readers do want to keep coming back, even if I was like, but it was so pretty, it was beautiful. You just have to stay kind of connected to what, will bring people back and not turn them off.
This is really interesting, and I love this. Someone said in the live chat just right now, said this is a bit of a master class, and I can't agree more. Honestly, this is really interesting. So you're really reader focused. You're like, okay, I'm going to put my ego here on the shelf, and I want to listen to what the readers prefer. How do you plan to keep readers hooked for the long run? Because I mean, obviously, we talked, maybe in a little bit of a hyperbole when I said 1,000 episodes. But how do you plan on keeping them hooked from episode to episode?
Well, the one thing that I've tried to do with Bug is, so I love the zombie genre. I love paranormal stuff. I've probably like going back to the Twilight days when I was like, you can have wolf shifters on the big screen. Like that's so exciting. So what I've tried to do is really like draw lessons from everything that I love. There was a point during The Walking Dead where I dropped off. There are points in everything I've seen that something didn't feel right. So I've kind of tried to take that and put what worked for me into my own work, and then just remember like guideposts, like what turned me off. It may not turn off every reader, but it's just sort of important to think about if you're looking at a series. I try to think about it like a TV series and like what are the shows I rewatch and go back to just because I love being there. And so trying to apply some of that to Bug, I feel like when I sit down to write an episode, if I'm bored or frustrated or it's getting too dark or repetitive, like how's anybody else that's been along for the ride with me not going to feel the same? So I think what would freshen it up and get me excited to like actually write the episode, and hopefully, we have so many things that we can study and learn from, whether it is a movie or a TV show or other books and series and stuff. So for the long haul for Bug, that's what I hope is I put a bunch of like, this is a genre mashup of a lot of different things. And I hope that because there's some original twists, some fresh ideas, maybe, I mean, is anything really original or new? Maybe just my execution of it is. Um, People will come back because, can I give a quick spoiler? Like, zombie elephants up and coming. How could that not be fun? I'm really excited about those episodes. So, just doing the best that I can to keep it interesting, but also to be fair, like at some point, like you said, if it's 1,000 episodes long and people are like, when will we ever get to the point where we know what happens and it's all over and everything's okay or it's not? I'll be very sensitive to the fact that, like, yeah, this might not go on for 10 years. It might be a 1 to 2 year series.
That'd be pretty incredible, nonetheless, if you were able to get 1,000. Now, you already dropped a slight spoiler, and it seems like you must have read my show notes at some point or another. Do you have? Because I mean, look, your readers are watching right now. You've got some people watching literally, and they. Do you have any juicy insights or spoilers for the readers beyond zombie elephants?
Yeah. Well, in the synopsis for the series itself, like right on Vella, it does say that so Bug is not actually about how this all started or the transmission of this infection. It's the nickname of the main character, B. So she does get bit. And that is when, some of the pieces start to really blow wide open because she doesn't turn into a zombie right away. So that's coming really soon. And another very main character, somebody in the existing like original set of survivors, also gets hurt but doesn't change into a zombie. So that gives that character some power that is, I'm going to have a lot of fun with that. Kind of like a
Nice.
super zombie fighter for a while. It doesn't last forever. Nothing good ever does.
Nice. I love it. See, I wasn't even expecting that from you, so this is really cool. Do you expect to publish the full series as a full book eventually, or is this just like you're focused 100% on Kindle Vella and anything beyond that?
Yeah, for me, for Bug, I'm focused 100% on Vela primarily because of the structure. Like I said, like I have 56 episodes scheduled and I'm on day 3 and that's about 150,000 words. So I can't even imagine what that ebook would look like. It looked like Les Miserables, like this. I don't I don't think that that would work for Bug necessarily, but I do know other authors who have done it and it's worked wonderfully for them. So, but not for Bug. I think for now we're going to go strictly series, strictly on Vela.
Prior to us going live, you and I were having just a one-on-one chat, and I'll be releasing some, exclusive footage here soon, folks. Uh, do you have plans to pivot away from Kindle Vella eventually?
No, honestly, not right now. Like I have written many, many books, so I'm comfortable with that structure. But before I realized that Vella was launching, I was working on a series that I thought would be a 12-book series that was a fantasy, primarily centered around a heist. So at this point, I'm honestly thinking I love Vella so much, and I've got these sort of long projects in the works that my guess would be at this point before I would have any books, I would probably do another series. So that would be the and Vella.
Nice. Hey, you're doing it right. You might as well just keep going back to it. One last question before we go into the live question and answer. How can viewers and readers get a hold of you or find you?
Oh, Yeah, thank you. There's a Facebook page just for Bug, so it's at Bug Callie Chase on Facebook. I also have an Instagram page. I probably don't post nearly as often as people would recommend I do, but I'm definitely happy to hear from people, especially if readers have suggestions, questions, pushback on characters. Please feel free to root for your favorites and tell me who you hate. I'd love to love to hear that.
Good stuff. All right, so let's go over to the live question and answer here and see if anybody has it. Audrey Carlin's here. What's going on, Audrey? Great to see you.
God, Sri.
Let's see here. Ava Fails, my ever faithful assistant. She was actually responsible for doing a lot of the promotion for today's broadcast, so she's here tuning in. Stefan Lear says, "Kill your lovelies" in all caps. I had to pass it through because YouTube was like, "What? Hang on a second. What's going on here?" Okay, Michael
Exactly.
Lee says, "I want 50 episodes more. It's addictive," followed by a zombie emoji.
Thank you. I think we'll squeak out 50 more. I'll try. I'll do my best.
Okay, so I do this with every single one of the guests. Are you enjoying yourself right now?
I'm having a blast.
Could you do
Yes,
me a
this is
favor and
great.
just encourage people to hit the like button? Because sometimes when I tell them, they don't listen.
Do it. I'm having a great time. Every thumbs up, please.
Nice, fantastic. By the way, you are the most soft-spoken guest I've ever had. I have to like dial back my energy just a little bit.
No, don't you just think, Jill, you're perfect. I'm just like a Disney princess voice. I'm just gonna chill out over here
I
while I'm
love
writing
it.
about while I'm writing about zombies and horrific stuff.
All right. Let's see here. Ooh, fantasy heist. Someone had brought up. Nice. Julie Kuhn says, "How did I become the announcer? Zombie announcer. Grr." I'm not sure what that means. Any idea on that?
Nope, but I love zombies, so I will definitely not use a zombie voice or try to imitate what I think they sound like. But hi, Julie.
Thomas A. Bradley, he actually was a former guest here of the channel. Thomas says, "You guys might have just helped me solve a stalled 3-novel series I'd been working on."
Oh,
He's a great,
yay.
prolific author in the horror genre. You got to meet Thomas. Just a genuine guy. Just
Yay. Hi, Thomas. That's so awesome.
zombie elephants fix all ills, Green Music says. Green Music goes on to say, "Hey, Callie, thanks for doing this. Can I ask what you think are the best marketing and promotion avenues for a Vella story since we can't use Amazon advertising yet?"
Yeah, well, and especially I think because I didn't have a readership before, so Amazon ads to me is already sort of a unfamiliar concept. It's not something I've done. I have run Facebook ads without a doubt since day one, and I had help. I didn't know how to do any of that, so that's something I've done. Social media, Instagram tour. I know people are on TikTok and I am not, but I feel like a lot of people are finding traction on social media by being really engaged. I feel like whatever somebody's comfort level is, like for me to put myself on a TikTok, especially with zombies, I don't even know where I would begin. So that probably isn't the right strategy for me. But I would say whatever you are comfortable doing, whatever your budget allows, like as much or as little as you feel like doing, test different strategies and see how they work for you. And you might find spending a lot of time on Facebook is the key for you. That's great. Maybe ads is something that will help you to find new readers. So, and definitely get advice and talk to people that you trust, people that do this professionally. Because I mean, Dale, you said like deep pockets. Like, trust me, I do not have deep pockets. I'm working every month as we go. Very excited and grateful for how the series is performing. But there's stuff out there for every budget. There really is.
Good stuff. I love that encouragement there. Lois B says, "Facebook page again." Could you mention that again?
Oh yeah, it's at Bug BUG, and then my name Callie Chase after Bug.
Excellent. Good stuff. All right. Michael Lee brings up one here. I'm assuming Michael must be a avid reader of your content. Does Callie have a favorite character?
Oh, you're gonna make me pick, but yes, I do. I absolutely do. I feel like so the two main POV characters that launched the series were initially B and Drew, and I felt like those two characters represented the heart and the head, like two different responses to anything in life. So I feel like those two characters are both like sides of me. Like half the time, I'm like lost, innocent, sweet, don't know what to do. And the other half of the time, I'm like, that's it. I'm busting heads, move out of my way. So Drew and B are my favorite. Maybe I'd edge Drew out just a little bit more because I want her on my side in a fight. So
According to Audrey, she's hashtag Team Drew. There you go. All right, next question. I saw they're load us up, guys, because we only have a limited time. We want to make sure we take advantage of this situation while we're here. All right. Can an author? I'll go ahead and ask this to you anyways. I figure
sure.
either one of us can probably answer this. Does Kindle Vella allow anthologies? For example, can an author publish guest writers in an ongoing story? This is by Star City Savages.
I mean, definitely, I would recommend that anybody review the terms and conditions because Vella's got a lot out there. I believe I've seen that done, though, that multiple authors will get together. And I haven't done it, so I wouldn't want to be the expert and say, this is how it works. Not sure, but I believe the brief answer is yes. Vella seems to be like a very flexible platform. So co authors, anthologies, I think all of that's permitted.
Excellent. Next question. Rachel Rosadio says, does structuring a serial novel feel more overwhelming than a traditional book? More characters, plot lines, etc.
Oh, that's a super interesting question. Thank you. I wouldn't say overwhelming, because for me, honestly, I think writing Bug as a serial has made it easier because I don't have to worry so much about the singularity of a point of view that I might try to stick to in a novel. Um, it's a it is a challenge because I have realized as I'm writing again so much of the content now as it's happening, I've forgotten things that I wrote and I'm like, "Oh my goodness, we lost track of a gun." So you do have to kind of go back, and I use Scrivener and Word, and I go back and read the episodes, in on my phone in Vella so that I'm sure like I have character sheets, but it does take some time. But I'm also kind of a pantser. Like for Bug, I knew where it was going to start, I knew where it was going to end as a series, but everything in the middle is happening now, and that for me that's part of the fun. But yes, it can also be a little bit of a challenge to say, one of my characters I have not developed any significant real plot points around yet in 50 episodes, and so I've brought her to the front now in the next few. But that's really because the role she played in the novel just did not work in the series, and so she just got pushed to the back burner. But I tried to look at it as a good opportunity at this point in the series, like what's missing? What more do we need? And so then I used her as the vehicle for what I thought we needed a little bit more of. So not overwhelming, but it's definitely a lot of work. I spend a lot of time pacing and walking my dog and with like noise canceling headphones on thinking about Bug, even when I'm not actually writing it.
Do you, this is a question for me, or do you ever take any days off?
Honestly, I no,
No
like
days off.
I
Whew,
take like
love the hustle.
time. No, but I mean, it's sort of like I want to be able to produce the word count at the rate that I've set 3 episodes a week. And so, of course, like on a Sunday, I'll like watch a movie or do some house cleaning. But no, I think like for me, staying in it, and you do need downtime, time away to like refresh your brain and rest.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very likely I'm going to be working every day.
Not bad, but it seems like you really enjoy this process, though.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's hard to see it as work where you're like, "Okay, I'm done with what I need to do for the day," whether it's something else like editing or teaching or something, and I'm like, "That means it's brain time for bugs," so it doesn't feel like work.
Teria actually has a question. It literally surfaced right as you were saying this. So I'm going to go
Yeah.
ahead and give Teria credit. Do you have any ideal amount of words to write per episode?
Strictly my opinion, I think if you read other series, you'll see people coming in on the shorter side, which is like 700 words all the way up to 5,000. But for me, the sweet spot has been really 2,500 to 3,200 words. For me, 1,500 words was my goal when I really decided to, like, yeah, I can make Bug a series. But then when I was actually trying to follow that sort of structure of building tension, sustaining, and coming to a conclusion that had a bit of a hook in it, 1,500 words didn't feel like quite enough. So I would like if it's pure advice, again, there's no one right way to do this. If there was, we'd all just do it that way. But for me, 2,500 words to 3,000 is a great sweet spot because you've got enough pages to do. Like I try to have no more than that first half page of pure, like, let's hook them with the first line, get a little bit of setup. But by the end of the first page or the first 250 words, the reader wants to know what's going on. And all right, is this an action? Is this a backstory? Is this, so that's kind of how it's worked, I think, for me. We'll see going forward, like maybe if, 200 episodes in, I'll be like, 500 words. No, that won't happen.
Yeah, get the minimum out. Yeah, exactly. How long?
Someone,
How long does that take you for the 2,500 to 3,200 words of actually sitting down and writing?
if I have planned out the content pretty solidly in advance,
Mhm.
2 to 3 hours, and I feel like I have a good solid draft around that length. I've done it faster, but it's rare I've done it faster. Usually, if I'm taking, content development where I'm thinking about, I have no clue what's going to happen today, so it's a blank slate. And I'm thinking about my structural elements, my themes, because that's another thing. Like I went into Bug with really intentional plans for what those themes would be. And so everybody, no spoiler here, like everybody has a messed up mother in this book. So, making that feel like it's there, it's comfortable, it doesn't feel heavy handed. It can take a lot more time, but again, that's why I try to visit every episode, first draft, get a beta read, then I go back to it. Is this what I really want to say? And sometimes that does happen, again, really fast, 4 to 5 hours start to finish. But I like to give myself touch points over a couple days when possible so that, I feel really like, okay, this isn't just rough draft. This is rough, polish, revise, and off we go.
Nice. Okay, I've got a really good deep question here from Green Music again. Do you ever worry about retcons, plot hole fixes in a serial format, writing yourself into an actual corner, contradicting yourself, etc.? Would you edit a past episode to fix that kind of thing?
Yeah, so I do worry about that, which is part of the reason why I try not to create an episode that could lead me down that path.
Yeah.
Like I did lose track of one gun, but it's not that I lost track of it. I just forgot that I wrote it. And so it is somewhere. It is somewhere and it stayed there. But at some point that will be like, oh yeah, the gun is back. But that's not what I would consider a plot hole or writing myself into a corner. So what I would do pure advice wise, I would never go back and substantially revise an episode. And that's purely because of the Vella structure. I would just, if you can, edit for typos and minimal changes, but it's really better to move yourself ahead if you can and fix those things. If you can, like, so say for example, you're about to sit down and write a new episode, thinking about things that, if I'm afraid I'm going to get stuck here, what are those things that might get your character stuck? And how can you soften that plot point or soften that scene so you're not stuck in a corner? I know it's hard to do like in the sort of generic, ambiguous sense. We're just hypothetically speaking, like, sure, don't do that. Right. Ideally, nobody's going to do it. If you have found that you've done it, try to be as creative as you can and get the person out of it. Not by saying like, oh, it was all a dream, but not that kind of thing. But like if you have really like before you hit publish or before you hit schedule, if there's anything in that episode, just as the writer be thinking, is there a way out of this? Is there no way out of it? And if I'm not sure, am I ready to publish? Like,
Mm.
there's nothing wrong with like, and I have done it. I have messed up probably 2 times and not published 3 episodes in a week. I think your reader would rather wait an extra day, wait an extra week. And you don't put yourself through that heartache of what do I do? I killed someone I want back. That actually, like my beta reader, I had a character killed, I think in episode 6 that was a brand new character, and he was like, "This character's too good. You can't kill him this early on." So I didn't. I just revised the entire thing, and he's here to stay. So trying to do things like that, getting your beta readers to help you early on, they usually will see plot, traps before you hopefully fall into them.
Gotcha. All right, we got a time for about a couple more questions here before we got to disconnect here, folks. And I saw Audrey had a good question. Do you have your character deaths pre-planned out?
Some of them. Some of them, yes.
No.
I know, yes. Some of them. I probably should say yes. It's a yes, because when I started with this group of survivors, I knew who I wanted to survive to the very end of the series, and I knew others wouldn't. the manner of death for all of them is not quite finalized, but whether they'll live or die, yes, I do know, but I'm not telling her. Don't ask Audrey not to not to ask me who or how. I'm not giving that away.
Yep, she's
Gonna
already
have to
given a
read.
couple spoilers. All right, one last question here before we start to wrap things up, and I love this because it's on the craft of writing. And give me a second, it slipped out. Cabo Art says, "I struggle with creating suspense. Do you have any tips for this?"
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on what you're talking about with respect to suspense. Is it fear, like tension that something scary is happening? Or is it like longer, I'm writing a suspense novel, and so how do I create something that is suspenseful? So whatever your goal is, I would say read a lot in the genre that you want to publish in. If you're talking about episodically or like within a chapter, how do I write suspense? Keeping in mind all of the senses are involved. So telling the reader that someone's afraid isn't as impactful as like seeing all the ways where they would manifest that fear. They're noticing like on a sunny day, if you feel fear, it's going to reflect in your character differently than if like all of a sudden the clouds cover the sun. So don't forget that like your person, your character is 360 in their world, and creating that for the reader really, I think, creates that sense of tension, fear. It's never just in a vacuum inside their head. And I think getting that on the page in kind of a big way is a great way to do it. But always read within your genre so you can, not copy, plagiarize, God forbid, but learn, by incorporation, by saying this is how someone I admire, accomplished it. And now I can kind of work backwards from I see, action words, I see sense words, whatever that is that they do. I hope that helped because kind of a big suspense is such a big thing. And I really hope I build the fear when I want people to be afraid. And but you kind of don't know until you have your betas and your readers helping you to know for sure it lands and terrifies them, gives them nightmares.
Nice. Say, you've done your job when you can keep people up at night. I got one final question because Carolina had asked it already. Please, Dale, ask Callie if she plans to write more series besides Bug, and I believe you addressed that. I love her writing style, and I want more stories.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate hearing that so much. And definitely, I hope that Bug will stay around for a good long while. But this fantasy series is one that I was super, super invested in the spring, and I can't let go. So that'll probably be my next series, I'm going to guess.
Nice. You have been such a gem. I really do appreciate you taking some time out your day to spend some time with me. Would love to bring you
Thank
back
you.
in to talk about the craft of horror writing because selfishly, I'm getting ready to pivot into horror myself. And I would just love to
Yay.
just find out, get underneath the learning tree and see how I can grow as a horror writer. Hey, folks, if you did enjoy today's broadcast, please make sure that you hit the thumbs up and leave a comment as well. Callie, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Dale. You've been so great. And thank you to Audrey too for, putting us together. I really, that kind of just love and support. I really appreciate it.
All right, folks, if you enjoyed today's video, share it with somebody else who would enjoy it too. Till later, this has been Self-Publishing with Dale on behalf of Callie. Thank you so much for tuning in.